Hello! Today we're going to talk about the Gevi GrindMaster. Gevi sent me this beta testing version of their new GrindMaster 64mm single dose burr grinder, basically to try it out, use it for a few weeks, gather my thoughts, and then talk to you about it. So today what I want to do is take this thing top to bottom, go over all the features, the quirks, the advantages, where it fits into the market, compare it to some other options out there that are at a similar price point or offer similar features, and then help you make an educated and informed decision on whether or not you should back this project as a crowdfunded grinder.
Okay, so I know what you're thinking. Isn't Gevi the company that makes the countertop nugget ice machines and the entry-level espresso machines? Yes, it is. But I don't think that you should write them off because of that. The GrindMaster is Gevi's foray into the craft coffee and prosumer home barista space. See, the Gevi GrindMaster has a long way to go, and it's just a baby. It's a crowd-funded 64mm flat burr variable speed motor baby. I've been in the market for a 64mm flat burr grinder for a while. I just hadn't quite made a decision yet. So when Gevi approved my application to be a beta tester for this grinder, I was thrilled. The alpha version of this grinder was stepped. However, due to community feedback, they decided to actually go ahead and make this grinder fully stepless. The test version that went out to a couple of creators really early on in the production of this grinder were stepped, and they got a lot of negative feedback because of that. I was very fortunate to be the very first person to receive the stepless version of this grinder. Now, with that said, there are going to be some changes that are made to the next revision that's coming out that are going to hit before the full production model. The biggest change that comes to mind when it comes to what the next revision looks like is they're actually going to change the adjustment gap on the dial from 1mm to 0.5 millimeter per indicated mark on the dial. That means you're going to have a lot more fine-tuned control, which is especially important when dialing in espresso. Well, Zach, that looks a whole lot like the Barsetto E6. What's the deal there? The deal is that they're both made in the same factory, so they share some components. However, the Gevi GrindMaster is a much more elegant and refined version of the Barsetto, where instead of just being essentially a grinder that's only available on AliExpress, you've got something that's actively being redeveloped and improved upon to cater to a specific market. And while the aesthetics are very similar, I think the aesthetics of the GrindMaster far outshine that of the E6. I think the colors are sharper, the angles are better, this sort of Pantheon style architecture that they've gone with. I just think it's a much better looking machine. And I think that that holds true whether you go with the gray gold combination or if you go with the silver option. In case you missed the unboxing video, I'm going to go ahead and just take the intro section from that and put it here. If you've seen that, feel free to go ahead and skip this next part. And of course, within a box, what else but another box? So give me just a second, I'm going to get this out of here. Honestly, hats off to Gevi on how well this seems to be packaged. Obviously this has had quite a journey to get here. This came all the way to us from China. And let's get a look at what's in the box. So let's just start taking stuff out of here. So we've got cleaning brush, owner's manual, we're not gonna need that. Power cord, obviously we're gonna need that. What are you? This is the little the dosing funnel that goes on top of the grinder. We'll get to that shortly. And now we've got kind of the main attraction. Oh, good Lord. Main attraction. This is what I wanted to get to. Hold on. Let's back it up a step.
this, I'm really, really excited about that. That's the dosing cup. Get some of this clutter out of here. I want to unveil this beauty because this thing looked really just incredible in my opinion. I was reading up on it and they take inspiration from ancient Greek architecture, like the Pantheon, which you can kind of see in like some of the design cues. This is hefty. Obviously, I opted for the gray gold combination instead of the silver, but you can choose whatever you like. As far as that dosing cup is concerned, that was also an option that I selected, the one with the scale built in as opposed to the all solid cup. One of my favorite features of this grinder that they don't actually talk about that much is if you look past the anti-popcorn shield, you'll see an auger style pre-breaker. Typically to get that sort of feature, you've got to spend a lot more money, but that's a standard option on the GrindMaster. That guy goes right there, so our beans can hop right down there, and then we've got that little anti-popcorning little doodad in the chute. We've got a grind speed adjuster attached to where our power button is. This is going to be really, really satisfying to peel off, but I'm going to get this onto the bar first. One of the big things that I really like about this design is rather than having a vertical grinder or even like a slightly canted one, you've got this horizontal grinder that's mounted on this stand. This thing is just packed with features. You start at the top with a dosing chute that goes to an anti-popcorn shield that feeds to a pre-breaker, which feeds to 64mm flat burrs controlled by a stepless grind adjustment. And there's a variable speed motor ranging from 500 to 1500 RPM so you can control the grind speed. And there's an ionizer in the chute that reduces static as it goes into a dosing funnel that's universal for every size portafilter and weighs it out as it's coming out of the chute. And if that's not enough for you, you get 4 different burr options, and this thing only costs about $500 for early access. Being a natural skeptic, the first thing that I wanted to check out was how accurate is the scale. So what I'm doing here is tearing out my Akaya scale, tearing out the proprietary GrindMaster scale, dumping out 21 grams of beans in one, and seeing if it's 21 grams in the other. What I found here, and frankly to my surprise, was when I dosed the beans out, I got exactly the same weight on both scales. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a brew scale or you shouldn't be weighing it through other means. I'm just saying the scale is accurate. The GrindMaster scale, to its own fault, is a little bit on the laggy side. That, and I'm not sure how waterproof it is. I didn't want to test it. I probably wouldn't recommend using it as a brew scale, but for grinding by weight, it's pretty good. Surely there's a downside, right? And there is. The charging mechanism for it's a little wonky. It's this magnetic proprietary charging cable that's really short, like really short. Even though I love this feature, I just don't use it a lot of the time, so I'm not too worried. Gevi claims 0 retention and easy cleaning without the use of any tools. So to see just how easy it is, I didn't read the instructions. I just started grabbing stuff until it came off. The first thing to come off was the magnetic outer ring, followed by a housing for the actual burr carrier, which also carries the grind adjustment. And then you can see that gave access to the outer burr with the pre-breaker, as well as the inner burr, which is fixed. And as promised, that was very easy, and no tools were required. I will say, at a glance, it looks like there's a lot of coffee stuck in there. However, I've been using this grinder for now 13 days, and I actually did a test where I swept everything out, gave the grinder a really deep cleaning, and weighed everything out together to see how much was being retained. I'm not a super technical guy, but as a quick aside, this was my first time taking a look at the burrs with my own eyes, and they're just an incredible and beautiful piece of craftsmanship. Let's just take a quick look now that I've got everything fully disassembled. You can see this is before I did the cleaning, all of the loose coffee grounds and fines and other stuff that basically got stuck in the grinding chamber. Keep in mind, there is no bellows option for this grinder yet. They have sent me a prototype. I haven't really gotten through my testing with that just yet, but this is with no bellows and also with no RDT.
I found the alignment to be pretty much spot on, and as far as reassembling with good alignment, you actually have this little guide magnet to get the outer burr carrier right back in where it should be. This is a good time to swap the burrs if you want to put different burrs in. Just know that it does void your warranty. When you're ready to reassemble, simply set the 0 point on your grind dial, fix it in using the 2 alignment pegs that are built into the back of the outer burr carrier, line up the dot on the grinder housing with the dot on the metal alignment ring, turn counterclockwise until it's tight and those dots are aligned, and then just slide the magnetic grind indicator shroud right over the top. And again, I did this without reading the owner's manual, and if I can figure it out, you can too.
Just gonna turn on the grinder here to kind of show you. If I turn this down past 0, burr chirp. So the 0 point is now properly zeroed, and you can do it all completely without tools. I just finished disassembling and deep cleaning the GrindMaster. As you can see, I used a brush, I used a squeaky blower, I used a couple different tools for scraping and knocking things out, and obviously some, maybe blew away or whatever, but after doing a really thorough deep cleaning, I have 1.3 grams of retention after 13 days inclusive of use. And to put into perspective how little that actually is, I do 4 doses per day on average at 21 grams per dose. So that's just shy of 1,100 grams or just over a kilo that I've put through this. And I'm getting 0.14% retention, which means that I am having 0.03 grams of retention on average, having done some rounding up, per dose. I'm getting 1/3 of a 1/10 of a percentage of retention. This is extremely low. That's with no bellows, no RDT. So when they say 0 retention, they mean it. So I think the best way to benchmark a new product in a saturated space is to pit it directly against its competitors. Unfortunately, I was not able to source a DF64V or a Time War Sculptor 064S. I reached out to a couple of people for those, and unfortunately nothing really matriculated. However, I was able to borrow a Niche Zero from a friend all the way across the country in California. I'll tag his information below. And I am a DF83 owner. So we've got kind of the icon of home espresso and filter grinders. And then we've got sort of the top of the line model from the Turin series. I think the GrindMaster has a lot more features than both of these grinders, but we're going to test a couple of things. We're going to put them head to head. We're going to taste them. And then I'll kind of give you my honest opinions, and you can sort of form your own from there. I feel like the niche really needs no introduction, and since this isn't a Niche Zero review, I'm not going to go in depth into all the features. Obviously, it's a grinder known for its workflow. I have pre-dosed 18 grams out here, so what I'm going to do is just dump this in and essentially just time how long that takes for us to get our yield. And then from there, I'll be going and pulling back to back to back espressos, tasting them, and seeing what we think. Oh. Okay. Probably not the one you want if you want, speed. One of the other things to take into consideration is how loud the grinders are. The Niche Zero is pretty quiet, and well, if you haven't used or heard a DF83 before, not a great sound, but goes really fast. Now, the only trick with the GrindMaster is that it does have a variable grind speed adjustment. So I couldn't really decide, what speed to put it on. I could just do the fastest, I could do the slowest. Instead, what I'm gonna do is my preferred speed after using this grinder for, a week and a half or so, which is around 900 RPM. So let's go ahead and dump our beans.
In hindsight, after reviewing the footage, I'll be the first to admit this probably wasn't the most accurate testing, seeing that the Niche Zero runs at 330 RPM, I had the GrindMaster at 900, and the DF83 runs at 1400 RPM, so a grind speed of 16 seconds, falling somewhere between the other two, makes a lot of sense. I think more than anything, this just kind of shows that the grind speed makes sense.
Not unlike the Niche, the GrindMaster is pretty quiet, whereas the DF83 produces a lot of really harsh noise. I'm going to go ahead and take the doses out and we can compare fines. So the DF83, because of, in my opinion, likely how fast the burrs are moving, you do get a lot of fines production. With the Niche, I would say that's exceptionally low as far as fines are concerned. And with the GrindMaster, surprisingly, I think we actually have even lower fines than we did with the Niche. Now that we've ground our 3 doses, I'm going to pull 3 espressos, put them in some cupping bowls for us to sample. I'm not going to do a blind taste test because frankly, I don't think my palate's developed enough to accurately relay that information to you. But based on what I'm picking up and based on my preferences, I'll give you my thoughts there. We've got our 3 espressos ready. All 3 of them were using the same 18 grams in, 36 milliliters out, about a 30-second shot time. And all 3 of them are, of course, the same coffee. It is a washed Mexico that I sell on my website, staygolden.com, as Granny's Apple Pie. The expected tasting notes that we should be getting are molasses, green apple, a little bit of cinnamon stick, and a cocoa finish. So I'm going to go ahead and warn you now, if you've got misophonia, this is a section you're going to want to skip. There's going to be slurping. We're going to try the Niche one first. Very sweet, getting a lot of the green apple, a little bit of the cinnamon, not a lot of the molasses, not a lot of the cocoa, but the fruity notes are coming out, which is interesting considering that of our lineup, this is the one that has conical burrs. Pretty good. That's a really enjoyable espresso. I'd be pretty happy to drink that. Next up, we're going to have the GrindMaster. Give this a little stir. Oh, interesting. That's a much thicker body, a little bit more of an impressive mouthfeel. That one's kind of coating my tongue a bit. I'm definitely getting the molasses this time. I'm getting the green apple and I'm getting the cinnamon. I'm kind of getting the full spectrum and a little bit of a cocoa finish. There's a lot more sweetness, not in the sense of like juiciness sort of sweetness, but sweetness in the sense of just like sugar. That's actually really impressive, and that was the GrindMaster. Last but not least, we've got the DF83. One of the interesting things with the DF83 is that I'm noticing the most crema has sort of, as these shots have rested, the most has just sort of sat on top of our shot here. So generally with large flat burrs, I think you expect a lot of sweetness, a lot of brightness, and a lot of flavor separation. So put that to the test. So I'm getting a lot of green apple. I'm getting a lot of, not a lot of, a little bit of like a malic acidity. Not a ton of flavor separation. This has really brought out the green apple, but I'm not getting a lot else. That's a little bit of a bummer for me because of the 3 grinders here, this is the one that I bought with my own money. So I do like the grinder. I think the workflow is good and it gets the job done and it's fast. But so far, just to be completely transparent with you, as far as just straight up taste goes, I think I'm liking the standard 64 mil burrs and the GrindMaster the best. Now, they do give you the option of 3 different SSP burrs that are upgraded. They gave me the choice when they sent me my beta testing model of what set I wanted. I said, just give me the standard Orion burrs. and I'm pretty impressed so far. So I'm gonna go ahead and clear all this off, do some grind size adjustment, and we're gonna make pour overs. Once again, I think as expected, very low fines from the niche. As you can see, going up in coarseness on the GrindMaster does produce a little bit more fines, but I don't think it's really to the point of being an issue for a pour over. As logic would have us believe, largest Burrs, moving the fastest, has produced the most fines when going up to a coarser grind setting on the DF83. We've made our 3 pour overs using a natural processed Kenya that I carry on the website. I call it Summer Sunrise. It's pretty light and tea-like, very fruity. There's lemon, orange, mulled cider, a little bit of Earl Grey on the back end. So we should get some really nice juicy cups out of this. Again, if you've got mesophonia, just go ahead and skip this. There's, again, gonna be quite a bit of slurping involved. Start with the niche. I'm getting this to me almost just straight up tastes like a tea with some added fruits. The niche for me at this particular juncture has produced a very, very tea-like cup. I'm gonna go in for seconds. I'm getting some of the orange, some of the lemon, a little bit of malic acidity from the apple, or from the cider. Overall, a very pleasant cup. There's not a lot of astringency. I don't think that's usually a complaint when it comes to the niche. Overall, pleasant. I mean, it's not, you know, knock your socks off, but it's definitely good. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the GrindMaster now. This is gonna be really interesting because it is marketed as a full range grinder. The burrs that I have in here are capable of producing espresso as well as filter. I have in my testing had some pour overs and some AeroPresses with this, but let's just do the side by side here. I'm gonna go back in before I speak. A little bit more of a little bit thicker in terms of mouthfeel and body, a little bit more kind of full and punchy. Getting a little bit more of the citrus, not to the point of acidity, but definitely getting those citrusy notes. I'm not really getting as much of that sort of light and tea-like side of it as I was when I tasted the niche. So far, so good. I like both, but they're different. I've got tea-like, I've got bright and juicy. Again, both pretty reasonable cups. Lastly, let's try the DF83. More body than the niche, less body than the GrindMaster, more citrus than anything, more of the lemon and orange. A little bit of astringency. Not much. A little bit of the tea-like. The thing that I think I'm trying to describe to you here is I'm getting the most clarity out of the DF83, which is to be expected. It's an 83 millimeter Ital mill flat burr set. You can expect to get more clarity out of a burr set like that. Just real quick, I'm gonna go back in on all of them, try one after the other, just kind of reconfirm my biases here. Super tea-like, aromatic, but not heavy in terms of flavor. I think that's kind of to be expected with cones. You don't really get a ton of that flavor separation. Cider, lemon. Little bit of the tea-like finish now, but it's again, it's not, there's not a ton of it. It's very smooth with a little bit of acidity. This is a little bit more fruit forward than the niche. The niche was more tea-like. This is more fruit forward. Kind of getting full spectrum here. I'm getting the citruses, I'm getting that mulled cider, I'm getting the Earl Grey. For me personally, the astringency that I'm getting a little bit on the back end, that sort of drying mouthfeel out of the DF83 is putting me off a little bit, depending on what I think I want specifically out of my pour over. If I want something that's a little bit more delicate, tea-like, floral, I think the niche is a clear choice. If I want to get those fruity, punchy notes, the standard 64 ml Burrs that come on the GrindMaster, I think are a slam dunk. I'm getting a lot of those bright, fruity, juicy, a little bit of everything. If you just want to, if you want to taste everything that the roaster puts on the bag, you want to taste all the flavors, then DF83, you know, you're going to get that clarity, you're going to get that flavor separation, you're going to be able to, I think, more properly sort of unpack what you're tasting instead of focusing on specific parts of the profile. So this morning we've tested espresso, we've tested filter coffee on the Niche Zero, the Gevi GrindMaster with the standard Orion Burrs, and the DF83 with the standard Italmill Burrs. Here's the thing. You know, I can sit here and wax poetic about why I like one over the other. Personally, you know, I think the niche has an iconic workflow. I think the Turin grinders have stood the test of time. They all have their quirks and downsides. Not everybody likes the aesthetics and the workflow of the niche. Personally, I can't say that I'm a particular fan. That's why I don't own one. The DF83 and similarly the other grinders in the product line, I like quite a lot. They're sturdy, they're hefty, they do the job. They are known for having some challenges as far as workflow is concerned, retention if you don't bellows, and RDT. But you do get a lot of customization options. They're extremely, extremely popular. They're very budget friendly. And then we got this guy. And I'm not really sure where it fits in. I think it does a lot of different things very well. I like using it for espresso. I like using it for filter coffee. You've got to kind of make your own opinions. Do I think that this is a smart buy? Absolutely. Do I think that this is a better buy than any other option? I can't really say. The only one of these grinders that I've purchased at full price is this guy right here. So you've got to form your own opinion. I'm happy to answer any questions directly regarding these three in terms of comparison. But I definitely think that the GrindMaster is a very strong contender, especially at the Indiegogo price of between $500 and $600 US. I think it's an extremely capable grinder with a lot of features. And personally, if I had to buy one of these right now, I'm buying the GrindMaster.
Look, I get it. Everybody's got crowdfunding fatigue. When I first got an ad for the GrindMaster, I also groaned at the thought of, oh, here we are, another crowdfunding grinder. But after using this as my main grinder for the last 2 weeks, I can very comfortably and confidently say I would much rather use this pretty much most of the time than the DF83 that I bought for $700 or $800. And sure, there are a couple of plastic or aluminum pieces on the grinder that feel like they're a little bit cheap, but again, it's not a $2,000 grinder. It's a sub $1,000 grinder that has a lot of the features that people are chasing in similar grinders like the Zerno. And in a lot of ways, I kind of see this as being like a budget alternative to the Zerno. Look, if you're getting in on the ground level with this thing, I don't think there's any way you can go wrong with the standard burrs, either color, or any of the other 3 burr options. The best thing that you can do is continue to do your own research, form your own opinion, and decide whether or not you want to back the Indiegogo campaign, which I'll have linked in the description below. Stay Goldman Coffee Company is not my full-time job. Content creation is not my full-time job. This is a passion project for me and a hobby. However, if you liked the video, like the video. If you enjoyed the content, feel free to subscribe to the channel for more updates, follow my other socials, I'm most active on Instagram, and share the video with a friend if you found this information helpful. I'm so thankful that you decided to spend your time with me today. I hope you brew something tasty, and stay Goldman.